Wow.
Why don't you understand that no means no?
My apologies. I don't know who you were speaking with, but this is the first time I call you. Basically, I'm responding to the form you filled out and sent back to us or responded to. And so today at 3 o'clock, I can kind of go over what that is. That way, if this is something you're not interested in, you can give me a good solid answer there.
I'm in the hospital.
So when do you get out?
Okay. Another one, I have COVID.
No worries. I'm not going in person. So this is something we're going to be able to do via Zoom. So we'll both be safe. So today at 3 o'clock, is that a good time for you?
Your
I
level
can't meet
of
with you
assuming
for
the sale
another
is crazy.
Oh,
What?
somebody go again.
She
Two of y'all
died.
spoke. I didn't hear.
She died.
My apologies on that. The good thing is I'm glad I got a hold of you so we can kind of go over options for you. Today at 3 o'clock, we can go over those.
I can't meet with you for one more week. It'll be a week before I can meet with you.
So it sounds like next week. First, Norris, what time do you normally get home from work? Right, whatever
I'm
time.
actually out of town right now, and it'll be about a week before I can have the free time to meet with you.
Perfect. Hey, Norris, I keep a really busy schedule, so I don't schedule out a week. What I could do is call you next weekend and we can put something down on my schedule for that following week. Next.
I sold my house.
Mark, say yours again.
Yeah, I'm not interested.
Okay, and hey, Mark, just so that I make sure we're talking about the same coverage, this is the insurance policy that would pay off your mortgage in case you were to pass away. So what you're telling me is that's no longer an interest for you?
Yes.
If they say that's no longer an interest, thank you for your time, bye, right? We're not convincing anyone to buy this product.
I sold my house.
Awesome. That's really good, Priscilla. Did you move into a new house? What's your new mortgage? Because this will actually cover any mortgage that you move into. So today at 3 o'clock, we can kind of go over those options for you. Kind of get
I'm
that out of your way
renting though.
already.
But
You're
I'm renting now.
Awesome. Well, hey, the good thing is I do work with about 30 different insurance carriers, so we can help with final expense, burial costs, regular life insurance. Any of those interest you? And if they do, today at 3 o'clock, we can kind of go over those options. Next.
Do we cover rentals insurance? Renters insurance?
We don't cover rentals insurance.
Okay.
Not yet. It's coming. Anyone else? Things they tell you that stop y'all from booking an appointment.
I'm looking for the one that's tied to the house.
Perfect. That's exactly why I'm calling. This is the coverage, right? That's going to pay off the mortgage in case you pass away. That's what this is. And I'll kind of go over those options for you today at 3 o'clock.
Okay.
I don't really trust someone over the phone.
No worries, Norris. The good thing is we can do it via Zoom, so you can see me and I can see you. I will also be sending you a confirmation email with my insurance license for your state, so you can kind of pull me up and make sure I'm a real person. So today at 3 o'clock, I can go over those options for you.
I'm driving.
Oh,
Sorry.
Go for it, Brendan.
I was insured with my lender when I got the mortgage loan.
Awesome. So that coverage is going to be different from this one. So we're doing is mortgage protection. And today at 3 o'clock, I'll kind of go over what these do and how they work. That sound good for you? Next. Right. And so
I have a policy through work.
awesome. That's really good, Jeremy. I love, when workplaces give us benefits, right? So the nice part is this is something that you're going to personally own. And today at 3 o'clock, I'll kind of go over those options for you.
Well, they said mine's tied to the union, so it's part of my pension plan.
Yep, and that's pretty normal. And what'll happen is those will change over time, right? Not based on your mortgage, since this is going to be for mortgage protection. This is going to be, kind of programmed around the mortgage and help you get that paid off. So today at 3 o'clock, I'll kind of go over those options for you.
Cool.
My wife will be home later. I have to check with her before I set an appointment.
Awesome. Yes, because I do want both of you to be there so I can go over those options. Do you know what's a normal time for her to be there? Because you said tonight, so.
Yeah,
does that sound-
she gets home at 6. I'll check with her then, see what her schedule. See if
Okay,
she
and
feels like it.
Daryl, so I keep a pretty busy schedule, so we can tentatively put an appointment down for 7 o'clock because it sounds like she'll be there by then. If anything changes before then, I will send a text reminder. You can let me know we got to change something. So I'll put you down for that 7 o'clock today. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Next.
I already took care of it. Take me off your list.
Oh, awesome. Well, I'm glad you already got the coverage. And again, Mark, just to make sure we're talking about the same coverage, this is the insurance that would pay off the mortgage in case you pass away, right? And if that's the coverage you do have, Mark, I do work with about 30 different insurance carriers, so I'm a little bit unique to other agents. If I can save you about $20, $40 a month today at 3 o'clock, I can kind of go over those options for you. Right, and y'all notice it didn't matter what they tell me, that's exactly why I'm calling, or I don't even acknowledge really what they're telling me. Oh, okay, so today at 3 o'clock, I can go over what this is and what it does, right? Those two things, guys, you can book an appointment. Realize that, right? Either if you're gonna acknowledge it, perfect, right? You're gonna give them congratulations, perfect, that's exactly why I'm calling. You acknowledged whatever they told you, right? Whether I already have it, whether my wife's not here till 7 or whatever it may be, right? That's exactly why I'm calling. And today at 3 o'clock, I can kind of go over those options for you, right? Or I like to, for me, ignoring it usually works even better, right? It's, oh, okay, perfect. So today at 3 o'clock, I'm going to go over what mortgage protection is and how it helps you. Does that sound good for you? Right? Like people get on the phone or pick up the phone, realize we're interrupting them. So they're either at the grocery store, dropping off their kids, at breakfast, lunch, or dinner with whoever they are with, at work, whatever it may be. They're doing things and we randomly call people. So even though they're leads, I understood right away when I started calling people and I got all these objections, right? And the reason I can get through all these guys is because I went through all of them, right? I couldn't book appointments because of them. I've been through every struggle every single one of y'all been through. But what I started learning was they all say the exact same thing. I didn't feel it because listen to it, right? It started going in circles, right? All the same objections all of y'all get. I didn't fill it out. I don't know what you're talking about. My wife's not here, right? I already got it, right? You'll start getting the exact same objections with every single lead type. And that goes all the way to an A lead to a 50-cent lead. An A lead will tell you, I didn't fill that out. I don't know what you're talking about, right? Something they literally filled out 3 or 4 days ago sometimes, right? That says your date of birth, don't have diabetes, I don't smoke, right? I mean, they wrote down a ton of stuff and they'll still get on the phone and say, hey, I don't know what you're talking about, right? That's not the point. The point is you interrupted them and they're not hearing you, right? They're literally, you are a telemarketer. What? No, I don't know what you're talking about and fill it out, right? No, ma'am, I called about the form. Nope, bye, right? They hang up on you, right? They hear you get stressed out when you're like, no, right? You never heard an inflection in my voice. Okay, great. So my name's Joe Martinez. I'm calling about the form you filled out and responded to, right? I'm the agent assigned to you. You're gonna hear me always have a leveled voice. And I don't care what they give you as an objection, right? You can always get past it by saying that's exactly why I'm calling at 3 and then back to script, right? Always go back to script. So the reason we don't book an appointment is because you don't go back to script. right? I can't tell y'all how many people have picked up the phone and have told me, nope, 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 nope. And all I do is, okay, so today at 3 o'clock, I can kind of go over the options of what this coverage does, right? It's the insurance that'll pay off the mortgage in case you pass away. And it takes about 10 or 15 minutes. He literally just said, nope, nope, nope. And they'll be like, okay, 3 o'clock sounds good. What? Right? It's amazing. You've got to stay consistent on booking your appointment. No matter what they tell y'all guys, go back to script. Right? What do you think on that, Bryan?
Yeah, 100%. I think that I mean, you're going to get to a place, right, where you say stuff and people are just like, I'm just not interested. And that just move on. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, move on to the next one, right? We're trying to find people that we can help, right? So I think the other one that I don't know if anybody said it, the one that I run into a lot of times is, hey, can you call me back? I'm really busy right now. And I stopped them and I go, yeah, I can absolutely do that. Like, I agree with him, right? But really all I need is like 3 minutes of your time right now. Then what we'll do is we'll set an appointment to get on a virtual call next week so we can get you taken care of. Right? Honestly, if you don't stop them and get that 2 to 3 minutes to verify the information and set the appointment, right? You're going to call them back and they're going to know your number and they're not going to answer. So the call me back, please, I really want this, doesn't work. So last week I had 3 of those. One of them I set the appointment. The other 2 asked me to call them back, right? And when I called them back, they didn't answer. They knew it was me, right? So, and I couldn't get them to give me 3 minutes, right? I tried my best. So, yeah.
I love that one. And you know what I use, Bryan, when they give me the, hey, I'm busy right now, you're going to need to call me back. Yes, that's exactly why I was calling. So what time is a good time to call you back? Well, you're going to have to call me back today, probably around 5. Perfect. I'm going to call you at 5. Let me just verify some. They literally just set the appointment for me.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
so
great.
It's like, oh, okay, yeah, perfect. I'll call you back at 5 o'clock just so that I have the right options for you. Looks like I got the mortgage at 160,000. Is that correct? Yes. Yeah. You're going to have to call me back. Yep. I just need a second of your time. So it looks like your age is 56. Yep. Yeah. You're going to have to call me back. Yep. I just need one more thing just so I have the right options for you. Have we ever had the heart attack, stroke, cancer, or diabetes? No. Perfect. That's all I need. I'll call you back at 5 o'clock. They set that appointment, right? Most of the time we're not setting an appointment because us as an agent that we're getting beat up on the phone, we kind of give up as soon as we get that very first no or that very first objection. And we think we're going to have to overcome that objection, right? Even though we have some really good sayings on how to overcome them, there is really nothing you can say that's gonna allow you to book an appointment if you acknowledge the reason they're telling you they can't book an appointment, right? Because think about it, I'll flip it the other way, right? So if I'm dialing and the person answers the phone and they say, I don't know what you're talking about. No, yeah, you filled out a form and you sent it back to us. No, I didn't. No. Looks like this was a call-in lead. So you called the number on there and you went through some. No, I didn't. Right. So you gave them something to leverage you're not booking an appointment for. Right. So that's super important. That's how come you've never, right, in all the objections I gave y'all, I never acknowledged the reason, right? Or I never said, hey, no, yes, you filled out a form, or hey, no, your wife needs to be there. It's always, okay, great. So today at 3 o'clock, we can kind of go over your options for you. Right, is always, I don't care what they tell me. Okay, great. Today at 3 o'clock, we can kind of go over those options for you. Right, I don't acknowledge, I don't give anything that anything they say the value to stop me from booking an appointment. Now, whether they hang up on me and not take it, that's on them, right? But I stay super consistent of, I don't care what they tell me. Hey, that's perfect. Today at 3 o'clock is going to be great. I can go over the options you qualify for, right? So you just learn to just go through whatever they tell you. And I heard it in I think it's Working Older Leads. There's a SoundCloud audio called Working Older Leads, if y'all haven't heard that one. And it's actually Brandon and Casey, the owners of the company, going through it, right? And Casey says something that was gold. When I heard it, man, it allowed me to book any appointment I wanted at the time that I wanted, right? So he talks about two things. The first one is people say knee-jerk reactions, right? What do I mean by that is when they pick up the phone and you start going into your phone script, nope, 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 I don't know what you're talking about. This is crazy, right? I don't know why they said that, because they just filled out a form about a week ago, right? Saying, I mean, they literally got a form in the mail and said, oh, babe, I want this coverage in case I pass away. I want to make sure you and the kids are okay, right? So let's go ahead and fill this out. They fill it out, they put it in an envelope and they mail it to us, right? But yet when you call them on the phone, they said something random like, no, I did not know what you're talking about. You're crazy. Stop calling me, right? That is called a knee-jerk reaction, right? Just a lot of Americans have been trained, telemarketers call them, right? And they want to get you off the phone because you haven't established why you're calling. So they think you're a telemarketer, right? So they're going to do everything in their power to get you off the phone. You need to do everything in your power to book an appointment and establish why you're calling, right? So if you ever hear me dialing, you will never hear me refer to the individual mortgage amount or the company that has it, because I want to establish why I'm calling. And the number one reason we are calling any of our leads is because they received a form in the mail and they responded to it. That's the only reason we have any of their information to call them, right? So whether they received a letter in the mail and they called it in, or they received a letter in the mail and they mailed it in, no matter what, those are the people we're calling, right? So they received a letter in the mail and you responded to it. That is my biggest thing to establish why I'm calling. That's why you'll always hear me book the appointment. And in the very beginning of my script, right, when I'm trying to book it, the first things out of my mouth, right, is, hey, Joshua, this is Joe Martinez. I'm calling about the letter you received in the mail about the mortgage protection, the mortgage insurance. You responded to it. And then I go to book my appointment, right? That's the very first thing I'm trying to get across. I don't care if it's a 50-cent lead or a brand new A lead, right? Because even if it's a 50-cent lead, the only thing I would add on there is, hey, looks like you responded to this a while back ago, right? So I put the elephant in the room that it was a long time ago, so that they can't tell me, oh, that was a long time ago, man, forget it, right? Nope, I'm calling about the letter you responded to. Looks like it was a while back ago. I'm the agent assigned to you, and it takes about 10 or 15 minutes, and at 3 o'clock today, I'll be able to help you with that coverage. Questions, anyone? We want to help y'all book appointments. Anything y'all think stops you from, my biggest concern is things that stop you from booking an appointment.
Yeah, Joe, I've got a question. It seems like working older leads, almost everybody I talk to, will say they've already taken care of it. They already have insurance, right? So I guess I'm wondering, might it not be better to go in with the assumption that they have insurance and that we're, looking to replace it?
I love it. That's a great question. So I always go, so first of all, when somebody tells me they have insurance, I get super excited because I go back to this theory, right? If I sold baseball cards and I walked into Bryan Howell's house and he has nothing but football stuff or no sport memorabilia, the odds of me selling him a baseball cards have gone really, really down. Versus I go to Mark Newbauer's house and he's got Babe Ruth stuff, all this baseball memorabilia. I'm so excited. He has a ton of baseball stuff already, but the fact that I'm selling baseball stuff, man, I'm in the right spot, right? Because the odds of him buying have increased tremendously because he believes in the product that I'm selling. So the fact that somebody already has life insurance, final expense, mortgage, or whatever it may be, the fact that you're selling insurance, your odds of selling again in that home have increased by thousands, right? Because these people believe in the product that you sell, right? And that hit home for me, Bryan. I love this. You're gonna like this story. It hit home with me when I was explaining this theory to my brother, and he goes, dude, I buy insurance for everything. He goes, I'm the insurance guy. I buy the insurance at Walmart. I buy the insurance on, he goes, I believe I buy every insurance anyone can sell me. And I'm like, man, that makes so much sense, right? Because when you walk into a home and they tell you I already have life insurance, whatever, right? They have some kind of insurance, you are in the right spot, right? At that point, you need to remind them that you're selling them mortgage protection. They filled out a form and said, hey, I want mortgage protection because I have life insurance, right? I have final expense. I have insurance for my kids, but I don't have this mortgage protection. I want this mortgage protection, right? Now they're gonna defend themselves because you know what? You know what they know, Mark? They know that when an insurance guy talks to them or gal, they buy insurance. So they put up their walls to get scared, right? They're like, nope, I don't know what you're talking about. Because they know as soon as you sit with them and explain the value that you can give them, they're gonna be like, yep, damn it, we need this.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Hey, James, can we get on a call later so I can sell you some accidental death and you buy everything?
I already got myself.
Dude, that's so true. This is what I say all the time.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, no, you're good, Mark. So this is what I say all the time, right? I always tell people this too. Hey, you might have, insurance through your work. You might have some life insurance over here. Sometimes people are just trying to fill boxes, right? On the call, and I'm telling them, we're just trying to fill a box. So if you've already have some life insurance, that's awesome. Do you have mortgage protection insurance that would pay off your home? Or do you have accidental death insurance, right? That will take care of you. And God forbid you'd be in an accident, right? We're trying to fill boxes for people, right? And so they might not have a box filled, right? And those types of people, insurance people, are trying to fill all those boxes all the time, right? So yeah, fantastic. It's awesome.
And if I may, a couple pros that I learned from early on that really help with that particular issue is, Dave Lappin always goes in, and part of Dave Lappin's intro, he's got a great SoundCloud on this, is basically, hey guys, just so you know, most people I sit with already have, different kinds of insurances, life insurance, whatnot. The reason that we're looking at mortgage protection today is most people don't like to use that policy that's in place for their family, for their legacy. It's not necessarily intended for their biggest liability, which is your home. So this is to serve that specific basket. And then as far as work insurance goes, I just had to explain it to my sister yesterday, and we're helping her out with some SBLI, but people are really proud of their work insurance, and that's great, but we just had a pandemic and major layoffs and quitting and people leaving. And it's important to understand. I love how Ashley Tarr slips it in. She goes, okay, now what other insurances do you have? Life insurance, things like that. Not what you have at work. We don't count that because you don't own it. It's great. Get as much as you can because it's cheap. It's at work, but you don't own that and you're not in control of that. So can you tell me about the life insurance policies that you own? That's important because that's you're taking away their security blanket there. And rightfully so, because they've got it now, but let's say they work their butts off and decide to switch careers or get laid off, or HR decides to change the policy in 3 years, after they had a debilitating impairment or something like that. Well, then they're screwed, and as we know, every year this gets more and more expensive if you don't lock in that rate.
And that's what I use, Mark. I learned it from the Ashley Tarr is, great. It's a great benefit because that's all it is. It's a benefit that your job offers. Is there anything that you own? Right? Because they don't own it. So I use that in every home when they tell me they have a work insurance. And then I always ask, perfect, how long have you been working at your job? And it's almost always, guys, 1 to 3 or 4 years. It's rare when you start getting people right above 10 years. And especially when they throw that at me, it's like, oh, that's perfect. Yeah. And that's pretty typical, right? People change a career every, 7 years. So that insurance goes away every time you move around, right? So this will be in place since you'll own it, that stays there forever. So I love that one.
What is your
have something?
Yeah, I just had a follow-up question. So when you are able to start the conversation about, basically looking at replacing their insurance, right? Like what's your strongest points? Like on the national call yesterday, I think it was, they were talking about, the fact that our average premium is still like 85, but the face value has gone up 2.5 times in the last year. Those kind of details. I'm just curious, Well, what's the best hooks, to try to get them to agree to an appointment based on the idea that, maybe you have something better to offer?
So we don't talk about that in the appointment, right? In setting the appointment, my apologies, right? So if you shouldn't be talking replacement on trying to book your appointment, that's probably going to be the biggest obstacle because right there, you've not built emotion, you've not built any value of what you're showing. And we just don't, right? When you're on the phone to dial, right, you are an appointment setter, right? That's it. We're not trying to give you quotes. We're not going to email you any quotes. We're not going to do any of that. We are here.
Do not email.
We set an appointment, right? I'm not going to compare what you have, try to replace, none of that, right? Because you don't have enough time in your appointment set to build value, trust, for them to say, hey, I want to switch this one for that one, right? And then even that, right? So when you're calling them to set the appointment, that's all you're doing, set the appointment. If they do bring something up like that, Mark, it's always, hey, great, I can kind of go over the options that we'll have to offer you, right? It's going to take 10 or 15 minutes today at 3 o'clock. Once you get to the appointment, right, and you want to compare whatever they have, then it's really just going to be, do you offer a better product that benefits them more than what they have now? That's the only time we would be replacing anything, if it's better coverage based on price and the type of coverage, right? I'm not going to try to go and replace a whole life with a term, right? Because they got it a long time ago. So it's going to be whatever's best for the family at that point. That's how you'll determine, right? And then you won't, there's nothing to say, right? You're just going to show them that something that's a better offer than they have, and they're going to see it, right? There's not really anything you can say other than this is what you can get, right? And this is what you have. Which one do you think suits your family best?
But don't you have to dangle some kind of carrot in front of them to get them to, agree to the appointment?
No, they filled out a form and asked you to call them.
Yeah, because, with these older leads, it seems like that doesn't work. They don't remember doing that, and then they already have insurance. Just seems like you have to have some, carrot to convince them that it's worth their time.
I love exactly what you said, right? So that's what they tell us to get us off the phone, right? So they definitely remember because they bought a home. They don't forget the home they bought, right? They go into it every single day. Whether it was 2 or 3 years ago, they may have forgotten that they filled out a form or sent it back to us. But when you call them and say, hey, I'm calling about the form you received right in the mail about the mortgage protect, trust me, they remember, because they don't get one letter, Mark. They get bombarded with letters, phone calls, a whole bunch of stuff about mortgage protection. We are not the only person reaching out. So they get a ton of it. So trust me, they remember. All those are just objections that they're trying to get you off the phone. And that's why it's best to ignore them and book the appointment. Be like, yep, that's perfect. So today at 3 o'clock, I can remind you what this was, right? I'll go over what you qualify for and what you can get. 3 o'clock today, right? And then again, a lot of times we get tied to a lead and say, oh, I want this person to answer and book an appointment. That's not the way it works. It's on to the next, right? We are only talking to the people that want us to show them options, right? You heard me right now, overcoming objections. There's no secret sauce, right? Like I didn't say anything special to get me an appointment, right? It was, I ignored what they told me and I went back to my script to book an appointment. Now, whether from there they book the appointment or not, that's completely up to them. I've done my job of establishing why I'm calling, and I did my job of keeping a sound head and not letting their objection get in my way to book an appointment, right? That is key, right? Mark, it ain't about convincing them or dangling any carrot, right? The carrot was dangled when they received a form at their house and it says, hey, do you want mortgage protection? And they said, yeah. And they filled out the form, or they called it in, and it ain't a short phone call, right? Like they got to answer phone prompts and put their phone number in, and like they went through trouble to get us to call them. Somebody giving me an echo.
I want to say something.
Yes, sir.
So like I have been working like for 5 weeks here, And I've worked with like A leads, A1, all bonus, 50 cents. And so I said with the prospect where I've said with the 50 cents, they came here and then they listened to me. They were 50 cents. And I said with them A1, they came, they listened, everything. So I think what I've learned so far is not about 50 cents or A1 or A. If they need it, they would get a time, hold it, and then it's up to us to sell it.
That's right. And
Yes,
I
sir.
tell all our new agents, right? It doesn't matter if it's a 50-cent lead or an A lead. They're going to tell you the exact same thing. Once you book an appointment and they actually show up,
Yeah,
it's level playing field, guys, right? I don't care if it was a 50-cent lead, a referral, right? A friend, a family member, an A lead. If they sat with you to go through a presentation, it is exactly level of closing that home, right? Or that family. There is nothing different because they have agreed to spend time with you because you are a licensed insurance agent to go over what they qualify for. Right. So don't be surprised when you get a referral, right, from your own brother or sister, and they sit in front of you and you're like, yeah, I don't want this. Right. It wasn't that you couldn't close your own family. It was, there was just no value for them there. Right. It is a level playing field once you book the appointment. That's what come to get them to book an appointment is don't worry about what they tell you, is go back to script and book it.
Yeah, two things on that real quick too. I mean, that's what Sarah Papa says is just, you know, acknowledge, respect, and move on. And as you guys have seen Joe do masterfully with each objection, there is no beat, there's no well, there's no this, and there's certainly no pause after you respect their and acknowledge their concern, right? Like Joe said, it's just a knee-jerk reaction to sales. You're a telemarketer, you're this, you're that. It takes a minute for them to get their bearings and realize that you're the case manager you say you are, right? So it's always, whether you use the "that's exactly why I'm calling" or not right off the bat. I like that because it starts the rhythm, but you know, that's exactly why I'm calling. It may have been some time since you filled this out, but I like to use the pandemic, by the way. It definitely has had an impact, right? I mean, Joe, I use it for about anything and everything because it has impacted everything we do. So I just like to say, usually, especially on those older leads, like, guys, thanks for bearing with me. You know, I learned this about 2 months ago from a book, and it's really changed paradigm big time. Instead of saying, sorry, this took so long, say, thank you for your patience, right? You're the one in control. You're the pros here. And so just say, hey, thanks for your patience. I know it's been some time since you may have filled this out. Because of the pandemic, you know, I've got thousands of families backed up in the system. So I'm just thankful we were able to get in touch here. Now, Joe, you put down here that your birthday is June 5th, 1963, or is that an 8? I'm reading the handwriting here. So 2 things there. One, you don't give them a chance, right? I respected, I acknowledged their question, I answered it, but I went right back into the verification. And when possible, if you're having a little something, I like to mention the handwriting if I have a handwritten form. You don't have that on every lead, but when you can, they wake up right away and realize, oh, he's got my thing, or she's got my thing right on her desk in front of her. So just some little tips and tricks.
Love it. Love it. Right. So I'm going to hit on a couple more tips on the booking of the appointment. Then we're going to kind of go into verifying some information because I know I'm just going off of things that agents have told me that they lose an appointment and they couldn't, or they got blocked, right, because of verifying information. And then we're going to go into locking it down, right? But again, my goal after this Zoom session is everyone can go book an appointment, right? Like they make sure today, guys, y'all ask us the questions that stop y'all from booking appointments, right?
I do have one.
Go
Just one more. What company are you calling from?
Perfect. I'm calling with the Mortgage Protection Center. So we get assigned to you. I'm calling because the letter you received in the mail about the mortgage protection. So today at 3 o'clock, I can kind of go over all that information, right? We don't say, they don't say Symmetry. They have never received a form that says Symmetry Financial Group. So as soon as you spit out Symmetry Financial Group, they don't know who you are. They do not, that is not on the form that they receive, right? On the form they receive is going to say, right, their mortgage and the mortgage amount and their name. That's it. It doesn't say Symmetry Financial, right? So we're calling from the Mortgage protection center, right? Or whatever you want to use in verbiage in that. And we're calling because you responded to a letter again, right? I'm only calling you, Joshua, because you filled out a form or you responded to a letter. That's it. I'm reminding them of those facts, right? So let's go into, first of all, how it starts to book the appointment, right? You're going to make sure you say verbatim, guys, that script is rock solid, right? The only thing I love to add for new agents that are working 50-cent leads is I call it again, right? Putting the elephant in the room, right? So whatever objection y'all think you keep getting to book an appointment, throw it out at front of them. And you'll be surprised of how all of a sudden it's no longer a thing because you mentioned it, not them, right? So what I hear the number one reason of dialing older leads is they're old leads and they keep telling me this was 3 or 4 years ago or whatever it was, right? Perfect. That's as if you're dialing bonus leads, you add that in there in your script, right? Hey, Joshua, this is Joe Martinez. I'm calling about the letter you received in the mail about the mortgage protection. You responded to it. Looks like it was a while back ago. Just add that in there, right? Other than that, keep to your phone script. But when you talk about them responding to a letter, looks like it was a while back ago. It just hit my desk, right? Now they can no longer tell you, hey, this was an old 3 or that was a long time ago. Yep, I know. Looks like it was a while back ago. So today at 3 o'clock, I can go over those options for you, right? That's going to be the probably the number one reason I hear when we're calling older leads. The next one will be verifying information, right? I hear a lot of people get blocked when they're verifying information. So here's some key tips and notes that, right, and I say this with a lot of love, right? Because there's a lot of new agents on here. It's almost 99.9% of the time you saying something wrong and that's stopping you from booking an appointment just because of the verbiage you use or the way you asked the question. Right? So here's some key tips when you're verifying information, how to not get your client on the aggressive side or on the side where they're trying to prove you wrong that this is false information, right? So if we're dialing old leads, right? And this is only for old leads, right? Because when they're new leads, they're still the same age, right? But the age is usually the biggest one, right? So, hey, I've booked the appointment. This is a 50-cent lead. Hey, Joshua, let me just verify some of the information that I have here. It looks like back when you filled out the form, right? I'm talking past tense. The mortgage was originally $200,000. I'm sure you've paid some down, right? I'm acknowledging it's wrong, right? But I have $200,000. So I'm also acknowledging I have the correct information of when they first purchased the mortgage, right? So, hey, looks like I have $200,000 here. I know you've paid some downs over the, in between now. So what's it at now? Right? So I've acknowledged it's old and I acknowledge that I have the right information, but I also know that it's not right now. Right? So that's a good one for the mortgage, right? I don't do the mortgage company because if it is a couple years old, it's almost never that same mortgage company, right? Mortgages get sold so often, right? I'm just verifying the amount, right? So it looks like I have 200,000 originally, right? What is it now, Joshua? I know it's gone down from now. So they tell me that one. Perfect. Then I go to basic information that is not intrusive, right? Looks like your address is 123 Rainbow Avenue. Is that right, James? Right? Looks like it's in Washington, Nevada, right? Whatever it may be, you're going to go ahead and give them all that information, real information that has not changed, right? Then the birthday or the age, right? Everyone's afraid of that one because for a fact, it's going to be wrong, right? Hey, Joshua, it looks like I got your age here at 50. How many birthdays have we had since? Right? They're like, oh, well, I'm 52 now. Great. I acknowledge I have the right form when they filled it out, and I know that it's not correct right now, so they can't give me an objection, right? I put that elephant in the room. They can't go back against me, right? So I verified their date of birth or their age. And really, that's it, right? So once I hit those, then I go into the health questions because people really it's just easier to verify simple basic stuff, right? Nothing personal. Once you've softened them up a little bit, then I go into the health questions, right? Then it's like, hey, Joshua, have we had a heart attack, stroke, cancer, diabetes, right? Are we on any prescription medication? then we dig into those. But I've softened them up with basic information, right? Versus saying at the very beginning, hey, let me just verify some information. Joshua, what's your date of birth? And they're like, I don't know who you are. I ain't giving you my date of birth. I'm not getting scammed. I'm not getting got, right? So you make it fun, right? Verify information you have, acknowledge you don't have correct one. And then always the health questions for me are at the end, right? Just that way I've softened them up. I'm verifying, right? And then verifying. Never say the word, let me get some information from you, right? Because it goes against everything you've said, right? You've said they filled out a form, you're responding to the letter. So if you're saying, let me get information, why don't you have that information already, right? I'm sure if y'all have said that by mistake, they've told you that, right? They're going to be like, no, what do you mean? Why don't you have that? Don't you have my mortgage? Don't you have this, right? They'll start getting on the defense with there. So if you soften them up that way, it makes it super easier to verify information, not get. You got anything on that, Bryan? I know you're great at that.
No, I think you covered it. It's great. No, I mean, serious. Yeah, I mean, if you guys will just follow what Joe says, you'll book lots of appointments, right? And then the other part about it is just dial and dial and dial and dial until you get good enough, right? Work through objections, spend more time on the phone. Listen, if you've dialed 200 times, right, and you feel like you're not getting it done, or you feel like you're failing at whatever you're doing, you need to dial 2,000 more times. Because everything that we do here, right, is just based on experience, right? Is working through objections that you personally receive. One of the greatest things that Joe has told me to tell some of my agents is make sure that you have a notepad, right, so that you can write down what I should have said, right? What I should have said. So when you get off the phone call, write down what you're like, oh, I should have said this, right? Write it down, right? And it does two things. Number one, when you write it down, right, it gets imprinted in your brain and you can remember it and use it again. So yeah, if you've only dialed 200 times and you're feeling worn out, dude, like, don't even go there. Like, you need to dial 2,000 more times and keep perfecting your craft, right? That's what it is. So it's just Mark's incredible on the phones. Joe's incredible on the phones. Jeff's incredible on the phones. I'm incredible on the phones because we've done it, man. We've just done it for so long, right? And the experience that we're giving you based on what we're doing, no one taught us. No one, honestly. I mean, we listen to Joe's listened to SoundClouds, so is Mark, this and that. But no one taught me to be good on the phones when I was working, with farmers or as a mortgage guy. I just had to perfect it, right? So I'm just giving you what I've learned over the last 10 years of being on the phones. So if you've been on the phones for 2 months, you got some time coming, but you'll get it. You will get it if you just keep doing the work, putting in the activity. You'll figure it out. I promise you. It just takes time, guys.
I love that.
It just does.
From now to the call ends, because I'm going to hit on it at the end, if y'all can have in front of y'all your numbers, at least for like this week or next week, and I'll kind of teach you how to increase or how to get the results out of your numbers, right? So meanwhile, while we're still finishing up, if you have that in front of y'all, I'll call on a couple of y'all. So we verified information, right? The next one is making sure they show up, right? Like, we need to lock these appointments down. The cool part about locking it down is there's a ton of ways to lock it down, right? So I'm going to hit on the very first one, which is the most important, and that's going to be building rapport in your appointment and your appointment setting, right? So if you ever hear Bryan, Howell, or Jordan book an appointment, holy crap. Like like they become friends before they before the appointment, right? Like, there's so much rapport building because it's not just, right? Y'all got to relax when you're calling and realize we're here to help a family, right? And they filled out a form and they want our help, right? Life happens and they're busy. And the reason it's gone down to a 50-cent lead from an A lead is because we couldn't get a hold of them. It wasn't the right time for them. Like, so many things have happened. And when they take your phone call, realize you have that opportunity to help that family, right? So mentally, when you're booking the appointment, have some love for that family, right? It's like, hey, James, I'm calling about that letter you received in the mail, right? About the mortgage protection. And we go through our appointment and we set it, and I verify some information, right? All his health stuff. And so then I hit him up with the love, right? It's like, hey, James, so, you know, what did you want to accomplish in this appointment, right? Like, who are we looking to protect? Who would your beneficiaries be, right? Do you know who those would be, James?
My sister.
Right? And oh, okay. So if you were to pass away, right, you want this coverage to pay off the mortgage for your sister, right? Would you like her to stay in the house, or what are we looking for?
Yeah, so if anything happens to me, I want the house to be paid off for her so she doesn't have to worry about it, because she's not able to afford the house on her own.
Okay, I just want to make sure, right, I have that right. Perfect. And so right now something happens to you, she wouldn't be able to keep the home. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so I'll put some options together to get you exactly what you need. Okay. And then so tomorrow at 3 o'clock, right, we said, I'll go ahead and go over those options for you, right? Like, I just built some emotion right there. Ask them, right? Val hits on it all the time. And he says, the most important part of the script is the part that says in the best script, most importantly, why did you send this back? Right? Because that's true, because that's where you draw the emotion, right? Because whether it's been, Mark, you hit on it earlier, right? Like, what's the carrot you dangle, right? It's their emotion, right? It's, hey, most importantly, when you fill this out, right, what were we looking to do? Because that's why I'm calling you. And that's how you get them to show up, right? Like when you hear Jordan, oh my God, like, she's their best friend, their long lost best friend that they never knew they always never wanted, right? But in the conversation, right? Like, they pick up the phone, and I heard Bryan Howell book appointments, and then I heard him run it. And it's like, oh my God, Bryan, thank God you called today, right? So what did you do over the weekend or over the past, right? Like, they were friends. I'm like, what? Right? Like, I'm still learning, right? So realize your learning curve is never going to stop, right? But it's building that emotion to get them to show up. That's going to be your number one lockdown, right? If you're super cold, right? And I tell y'all this from experience last year, right? So I was a beast when it went to in-home presentations, right? Because guess what? They booked an appointment. If I had no emotion or not, I knocked on that door. They had no option, right? Like, they couldn't run to the backyard and hide because I saw that their car was there, and I looked through the window. There was no running away from Joe Martinez in person, right? Open the door, I'm here. Over the phone or virtual, guys, they just don't pick up, right? It's so much easier for them to not show up, right? So make sure you're drawing that emotion for them, and make sure they know that you're there to help them, right? And you want to put in place the reason they filled out that form, right? The next one is getting them to memorize.
Hey, Joe, before you move on, can I just ask you a quick question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, getting back to the person that already has, insurance in place, right? How do you play the emotion card, with somebody who does feel like, they're probably sufficiently covered,
So I love that question, right? Because realize this, Mark, more than likely, if they have coverage in place, they didn't get it after they filled out the form, right? So I learned this a while back ago too, right? More than likely, when they have the life insurance that they have in place, right? Whether it's life insurance, final, whatever they have, right? If they have something in place, 99% of the time, again, they already had it when they received the form. Right? So realize that, right? It's not when you call somebody and they, oh yeah, I just got that last month. No, they probably got it years ago, right? So when they filled out this form, they already had this coverage, right? Remember that. And because I'm telling you, you're on that objection because that's in your head, Mark. Like, man, they already got coverage and I got to overcome that. No, they had, I learned, and I actually learned this year at one, I think Ryan Federico did it at one of our trainings. He's like, y'all need to realize when they filled out this form, they already had life insurance, they already had car insurance, they already had final expense, whatever it was. Right, when you're looking to replace stuff, you said it yourself, right? It's usually a year or two old. That means they already had it before they filled out that form. That means while they had insurance, they said, we need more insurance. Let's go ahead and call this or have this guy call us, right? So just remember that, right? I think, you know, and I say this respectfully, get over the fact that they have insurance, because that's all in your head, right? Like they filled out this form having it and they still requested more, right? Or like Bryan said, I love that, right? They wanted to check off a different box. Like, hey, I got life insurance. I want to check off my mortgage protection, or maybe even accidental, right? Because that form does say several things. It says mortgage protection. It says, I think on some of them, it says final expense. Some of them, it says critical illness. Maybe they're just concerned about having a heart attack, stroke, or cancer. A disability is a big one, right? Because they own a home and they know if they can't go to work, that mortgage payment's still got to get made. So realize they had insurance and they still said, call me. So, where was I? I forgot. Oh, locking it down, right? So we built the emotion. The next one is you want them to remember you, right? So back in the day, right, and I'm just teaching y'all what I've learned and all my hard lessons. I love what Bryan said, right? Like I've had to learn this stuff over the past year, right? And before I used to be able to book an appointment in 7 seconds. Literally, it was like, hey, Joe Martinez, I'm calling about the letter, blah, 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 3 o'clock tomorrow. Yep. Okay, perfect. I'll see you then. I was done because I was going to show up and roll up at their house and I was there. That doesn't work that way anymore. I've learned to have to, they got to remember our conversation, right? So they have to remember if I'm booking it for tomorrow and even later, right? Man, I get off of work and I'm picking up kids, dropping them off here or there. I will forget what I did 30 minutes ago, right? So you got to leave a impactful presence of you booked an appointment. The number one that helps you with that is, hey, Joshua, can you grab a pen and paper? I'm gonna give you a list of things I need so we can go over those options for you. Let me know when you're ready, and you wait, right? Because you're gonna allow people to just say, oh yeah, I got it. No, they don't. They don't got a pen and paper in front of them, right? Who randomly answers a phone with a pen and paper in their hand? Let me just ask that question. Nobody, right? So there's got to be a waiting period, right? So if I say, hey, Joshua, can you grab a pen and paper really quick? I'll wait for you. Let me know when you're ready. And you wait, right? Once they say I'm ready, okay, perfect. Write my name down, Joe Martinez, right? So I'm going to go over the mortgage protection. We said at 3 o'clock tomorrow. Perfect. And then go ahead and write down any prescription medications or just have them with you, right? And in reality, guys, it ain't even about the things, right? It's about making them write it down and remember you, right? So, okay, perfect. So 3 o'clock tomorrow, and just have your driver's license with you, okay? And then I'll go over those options here. And Jordan does a really good one, right? It's, hey, write down my state license number, and she has it, right? My Washington license number is 536439, right? If you feel the need, right, go ahead and look me up and you'll find me. All right.
Yeah,
And
you get some people that are kind of like weirded out who you are. That's a great plug. I got
I love
that,
that, dude.
too.
That's
I'm like,
fire.
hey, so write this down. First off, write down our appointment time. And then my name's Bryan Howell. Here's my Washington state license, 819145. Just so that, you can look me up and make sure that I'm a, legit insurance, agent here in the state of Washington. People feel, you know what, they're probably never going to look you up, but the fact that you just offered it to them, they're like, oh, okay. They're fine,
Then the next one, guys.
And again, I just want, I'm sorry, Joe, like just really quickly,
fire
I just want to hit on the rapport piece again when you were talking about, me, dude, listen, like you've got to build a friend before the appointment. It's the reason why you can sit with 4, 5, 6 families in a week, right? And close 4, 5, 6 families in a week because you build the rapport at the appointment. Don't rush through that piece. Just don't. I have sometimes spent 20 minutes booking an appointment, 20 minutes. And I'm okay with that, right? Because I know that if I spend 20 minutes prior to the appointment, I got a sale, baby. Let's go. And I'm going to protect this family and I've got a sale. So just,
if you can get them talking, that's fire right there for you.
People want to talk. They do.
People love to hear themselves talk. It will help you sit with more families, right? So getting them to write that stuff down, right? And then there is nothing wrong, right? And I've learned, I used to be scared to ask this question, but man, it helps your show rate. Joshua, is there any reason why you and your wife won't show up tomorrow? Or is that not a good time for y'all tomorrow at 3 o'clock? right? Ask that question. I can't tell you how many times I've asked that question, right? So we book an appointment, right? Because again, realize their situation. You randomly called them, you gave them an appointment time and they're like, yeah, tomorrow or today at 5 o'clock is fine. But then we went through the whole thing. And then at the very end, I'm like, hey, are you sure, James, there's 3 o'clock today is gonna be a good time for you and your wife to show up? And you don't have to say show up, right? It's a good time for us to go over those options for both of y'all to be there. And then all of a sudden they're like, man, you know what? I'm sorry. I have to pick up my kids from soccer practice. That is not a good time. I can't tell you how many times they tell me that, right? And it wasn't nobody's fault. It was you randomly called them, you gave them an appointment. They're like, yeah, let's go ahead and do this, right? But then they start thinking about it and like, oh, I forgot. Sandra told me I have to pick up the kids today. That ain't gonna work, right? And that's what you want to get out of that right there at the appointment. Okay, perfect. I'm glad you said that, Joshua. So if you got to do that, so let's go ahead and push it back to 7 p.m. today. Yeah, definitely. I'll pick up the kids. I'll be back. It'll be 6. We'll eat dinner. Yep, I'll be ready at 7. Perfect. Good thing I asked that question, right? Don't think they're doing it to y'all. Life happens to everybody, right? So realize you just got to do a really good job of locking down that appointment. Let's see.
Joe, can
Any
I ask?
questions on people showing up?
Can you hear me, Joe?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just curious because I came to this call a little bit about the dialing speed. And I remember Laura Davis on a national call I was listening to just last night said the first hour for her is the most important hour of dialing because she's either focused and in the zone or she's not, you know? So I was just hoping you could touch on, because one of the things I'm wrestling with is I dial from 9 to 10, I take an hour off. I dial from 11 to 12, I take an hour off, you know, or I try to just keep going. And I'm just curious on your take on that style of working, you know?
Perfect.
So if you could address that, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, that's actually the last thing I'm going to cover. Before I move to that, does anyone have on locking down the appointment? Anything that you would want to hear? Anything in that realm?
Yeah.
Locking
Yeah,
down.
Joe's Mark again. Yeah, just real quick. I get a lot of people that are driving, right? Well, what do you do about locking down the appointment? You know, if you catch them in their car driving.
If you catch them in their car driving, obviously they don't have a pen and paper, right?
Right.
It's asking that question. If they're busy doing something, it's asking that question, right? And kind of pausing, right? Because realize sometimes they're on the phone and they're doing things, right? Or they're driving. So it's getting them like, hey, Mark, so I just want to confirm, right? Because I got you down for 3 o'clock tomorrow. That is a good time for you and Darcy to be there, right? So that's going to be the best lockdown for people that don't have a pen and paper, right? But it's, again, confirming and having them think, right? You're making them stop to think, well, why wouldn't it be, right? It's almost offensive to them. Like, hey, I'm a busy man. I just want to make sure tomorrow at 3 o'clock is a good time for both of you to be there, right? It is so important to say for both of you, right? Because then you're going to get one-legged. Okay, so that's the best scenario on that one. I love that. That was a good question, Mark, because we get a lot of people while they're driving, right? You can't get them to write it down, but get them to confirm and verify that it is a good time for both of them to be there. I like that one.
And so one of the things I'd like to add to that lockdown, and you guys, please, leaders, if you agree, disagree, if they're in the car, I will send a text. I'll let them know, look, in lieu of you having a pen, I'm going to send you a text with our appointment time. But I just need you to confirm now that you're both going to be there at 3 because I'm going to calendar it, right? So now you're writing it down for them. A. B, remember the script, it's right in the acronym. Always be busy, right? Be busy, be busy. So I like to say, hey guys, I put it on the other families, right? It's almost, it's just asking them to be a little respectful of the fact that other people filled out these forms as well. So I like to say, hey guys, just so you know, I've got a packed schedule. As you can imagine, here's the magic word, pandemic. As you can imagine with the pandemic, we've got thousands of families that have sent in requests that we need to get to. I'm helping as many as I can, week in, week out. So it's really important that if we're going to schedule this for 3 o'clock tomorrow, that both of you are going to be there at 3 o'clock, because I'm scheduling my other families around this, and my job is to serve each and all. So if you can please just double confirm with me here, 3 o'clock tomorrow is good for both of you, so that I don't miss out on my other families just the same. Fair enough? And get that buy-in question. Fair enough? Does that make sense? That you get them, I do that lockdown 3 to 5 times in different ways. What time did we say that was again, Brian? 3 o'clock tomorrow. Thank you. My head's gonna explode today. I got a lot of families to help. Can't wait to help you and Terry tomorrow, 3 p.m. Again, I'm gonna send you that text. And again, with much respect, just please be on time because I've got a lot of families I'm helping. Now you're the pro, you're busy, you've kicked in herd mentality. You get so much packed into that statement, right?
Yeah, I've also noticed that. Oh, I'm sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
I was just say, I also on those, I also will say, by the way, just so you know, I know they're not writing. I'll say, again, my first name is Jeff. I'll still spell it out. It's Geoff. Last name is Miller. So watch for the email you're going to get here just shortly, because it's going to have all my contact information. It's going to have all the appointment information. And by doing that, it triggers in their mind, okay, I'm getting an email, Jeff, to watch for that. So I know that helps me a lot when they're driving.
Yeah, I love that, right? Building rapport. Jordan, right? Oh, just like the NBA player, right? If you ever heard her book an appointment, she's like, yeah, this is, write my name down, Jordan, like the NBA player, right? Like, and Jeff, right? It's spelled different. Raj, use y'all's names, right? Uniqueness of it, right? Like, hey, my name's Raj, right? It's
B-R-Y, the right way to spell it, just so Handy knows, because I know he's on this call.
Right, use that to the advantage to build that rapport, right? And then
Wrong.
And then one that I didn't hit, so I'm glad you hit on it, Mark, is so we use, at least in the majority of our agency, we use text reminders, email reminders, because most of us are on the power dialer, and it's sending instant emails, right? Text and email reminders the day of, an hour before. And then we also send about 5 to 10 minutes before, depending on who it is, right? Text messages reminding them to show up, right? So when we're booking the appointment, I personally say, hey, you know what? I'm about to send you an email. It's going to have my license number so you can look me up. It's going to have your Zoom link on there. And then my personal email has, and I learned this from the national call, right? It has a little bit of information about me, how long I've been in the industry, my family, has pictures of my kids and what we do. And I can send that to any one of y'all. If y'all want to just reach out to me, I'll forward you that email, right? So I email them all that so that they can realize who they're talking to, a real person, right? They see my kids on there. They see that my license, I'm, from whatever state I'm calling them from, and that helps lock it down. And then the day of, in the morning, they get an email from our power dialer. You can do it from just your email as an email reminder. And then an hour before, I also send them a text message with and it says, hey, Josh, this is for the mortgage protection appointment that we have at 3 o'clock today. Reply with a C to confirm your appointment. I will be calling you from this number. And then, so when I send that email an hour before and I get that little C back, that's gold, right? They're showing up and I know I'm going to have an appointment, right? So all little tricks that y'all can use to help book all these appointments and make sure you lock them down and they show up. I think really that's it. Anyone have any questions on those text messages, emails, or any of that?
Joe, just for those of us that aren't, using the power dialer, but how often does it send reminders?
So right when you book it, the day in the morning and an hour before. And you can really mix those and match, move them around, whatever you're comfortable with, right? So it doesn't have to be exact. The point is, right, we're touching them 2 to 3 more times before the appointment so that they can show up. That's the real science in it, right? Like they booked an appointment, but they get a reminder, right? That's the next day. Then they also get it about an hour before. So they can't say, oh, I totally forgot, right? All those little things help.
Joe, it looks like Brooke and Brendan may have questions real quick before you move on.
Fire away, unmute yourselves.
Mine was a while back. I have an appointment today with a lady that already has insurance, but you answered my questions already.
Perfect. Put your hand down.
Get that hand down.
Brendan?
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
I have a certain times where I was problem selling critical period protection because they already have a bigger policy of life insurance. They don't really see the need for the mortgage payments amount that they will be receiving. So I lose a lot of clients based on the value of selling a critical period product to them. I know they're older now, and it's hard to find a concern for them sometimes that would be applicable to their situation. Should I just let those clients say I don't want to waste their time and let them go?
I would go back to what Mark was saying earlier, right? So don't let them have an insurance. So they had this big old policy, right? So if they have $1 million policy or 500,000, they didn't get it this year. Trust me, right? They got it years ago when they were younger. And that's why they have so much coverage. Again, remember, they had this coverage when they received this form and they decided to fill it out and send it to us, right? That's going to be objection in your head that you're allowing them to say, no, we don't have value, right? So what I would coach you as an agent, right, is work on building the value, right? What that coverage does for them and filling that box, right? This is for mortgage protection. I love the life insurance policy you have, and let's go ahead and keep that in place, and so that we don't touch your nest egg for your family and have them taken care of, and how your family's going to take care of themselves, right? Because that's the income they're going to need. We don't want to waste that on paying off your mortgage. Let's let an insurance company spend their money on paying off the mortgage, and then your family still has all the money we put in place in the life insurance to live, right? So
yeah, and the other part is asking some questions, right? So if they have $1 million policy or a $500,000 policy, how old is the policy, right? If they got it when they were 25, right, and they're 40, and it was a 20-year term, then what I like to do is go back into that process and go, I just want to let you know that this thing is going to expire in 5 years. And I just want to let you know what the cost will be 5 years from now if we don't replace that now, right? It's just about building rapport and value, right, with what they have. If somebody's 25, they have a 20-year term, that takes them to 45, and they're 40 now. The pricing from 40 to 45 or even 45 to 50 is hugely different, because now if we add another 20 or a 30, because once you hit 50, it's hard to get a 30, right? The pricing is so expensive. We want to work on adding a lot of value to those people.
One note that Elijah said yesterday in one of the meetings, and this helped me, was don't sell from your own pocket. In the sense of, don't look at a situation of what they have and say no for them because of looking how you would look at what they have. Just like Joe said, you have to look at it as the perspective of, you asked for this information. If somebody has a Ferrari, that doesn't mean that they don't want to collect a vintage Toyota. It just means that they called about a Toyota and they think that you're talking about the Ferrari they own.
Right, and that's a little different from what he's talking about, right? So it's not about the pocket on yours, Brendan. It's more about they have something in place and they're not seeing value in the mortgage protection. I think it's just making sure you acknowledge the coverage they have in place, right? And hey, remember, you filled out a mortgage protection coverage. That's the box where I'm here to talk about, right?
Yeah, and I want to make one more thing clear. Listen, we don't sell everybody, guys. Joe doesn't sell every appointment. Jeff doesn't sell every appointment. Mark doesn't. I don't. We just don't, right? There's sometimes people don't need us. That's the truth. I had an appointment the other day.
Find a family.
Exactly. And I've told families, I've been like, hey, listen, here's the deal. You have this, this, and this. Honestly, you don't need me. You're in great shape. You have this setup, this setup, this setup, and they don't need me. I'm cool with that.
Yep.
And you know what? People go, man, thank you so much for just being honest, right? Because I'm not going to sell everyone. And sometimes they legitimately just don't need me. I don't want anybody on this call to think that we book every lead as an appointment. We don't. Or that we sell every appointment. We don't, right? So just make sure that you guys aren't feeling that, because I think sometimes that pressure is like, oh, you guys must book every lead you do. No. we spend a lot of money on leads that go away.
Realize you'll book 7 appointments and get 7 no's. Like, that is not uncommon.
Guys, you hear it. It is all about metrics here and reverse engineering that. And metrics include wins and losses. You just got to work the numbers. But the another thing I want to mention is, a lot of us have quoted people that came before us and are still just amazing 6-7 figure earners who started with the same struggles we did. Guys, make SoundCloud your friend. I can't say it enough. When I was studying for my license, whether it was instinct or intuition, I don't know. But when I was at the gym, I was listening to SoundClouds and hearing from people I never heard of, and hearing about getting hung up on and dialing older leads. And I mean, the titles on most of these things say it all, right? So mastering the phones with the masters, dialing 50-cent leads, they're all in there. And I cannot tell you, just because they're there for the taking, don't think that the value is free. There's been a lot of experience and work put into those. You're learning from weeks to months to maybe even years of mistakes that others have made and solved that will shorten your learning curve exponentially. So please, guys, just make that your daily thing. I know I say it adamantly. I know I'm getting emotional right now, but it's because we have a treasure chest of answers to all of these questions and more. And I love that we get to translate them and put them in different perspectives. I mean, these kinds of things are important. And my just prayers up to God for you, Joe, and Bryan, for, initiating stuff like this. It's amazing.
Well,
I'm
gonna
SoundCloud, different file every day, or the same one that really affects you for a couple days in a row. Okay, please and thank you. I put the Dave Lappin one in the chat if you guys want to copy that.
And then I'll leave y'all with these last ones, which is the numbers, right? Michael Grave, if you can hear me, I hope you're on here. You were asking for this. It's going to be your numbers, and this is what's going to bring sanity to all this stuff, right? Joshua, you have your numbers for last week. How many dials, contacts, and appointments set?
Yes, I do. So I dialed 402, contacted 62, and set 4 appointments.
You set 4 appointments, or you sat with?
Set 4 appointments, sat 1 so far.
Love it. And this is the beauty of writing down your numbers, guys, because this is the best way we can help you get better, right? So he talked to 62 people, right, and booked 4 appointments. What that teaches me, right, is every 15 and a half people you talk to, Joshua, you can book an appointment. I now know the exact science to get you to 15 appointments, right? Because every 15 contacts, right, gets you an appointment. That means, right, so 15, and I want 15 of those. So you need to get a hold of, right? Looks like 200 people, right? So you need to talk to 200 people, and you're going to have 15 appointments, right? And then you can even go to your dials, right? Because that means basically it's 100 dials and you book an appointment, right? So here's the magic, right? I preach on 1,000 dials, guys, all the time as a new agent. Here's the magic. Every 100 you book an appointment, Joshua. So if you can get to 1,000 dials a week, you have 10 appointments set. Boom. Right? Like there is no magic, right? DJ Robinson does it off of 50-cent leads. He just calls 1,300 times, right? And he's going to have 13 appointments. Like these numbers don't lie, right? Like anyone else want to, give us their numbers, and I can show you all how to break down what you need to do to book your full-time schedule.
Just quickly, the statement you made about the numbers bringing sanity to all of this. I was speaking with Mark a little bit earlier, and I've been speaking with Jeff constantly about this. And I've said it before, the numbers really have brought me the ability to look and see that I'm not failing, that I'm actually just needing to do more. And it eliminates the feeling portion of it.
And I say this respectfully, right? 90% of the time, Joshua, is y'all just ain't working hard enough the right way. Right? Because if you have no appointments throughout the week and you have 400 dials, you should have been at 1,000 dials because you would have had 10 appointments, right? And that's not just you. Like I talk to a ton of our agents that I break down their numbers, right? And it's just activity, right? And then Michael Grave, this is where that comes into, right? We talk about schedule all the time. Right? And we say, hey, 9 to 12 dial, right? 4 to 7 dial, Monday through Friday, Saturday. The next problem is, right? You're just not dialing enough, right? In that condensed time, right? A great number, let's see, Brendan, you got 52, that's a good number right there. So 360, right? So every 360 dials, you book 8 appointments, right? I'm gonna get off topic. I'm like, squirrel, right? So you're able to divide, right, the number of dials by the number of appointments set, and that's how many dials you have to make to book appointments. That's what makes it so beautiful, right, Joshua? Now you can say, hey, and then you get excited now because you want to get to 100 dials, boom, 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 because I'm going to book another appointment, right? What gets you through that is you start getting better, Joshua, right? Because then it takes 80 dials to book an appointment. Then it takes 60 dials to get an appointment. Then it takes you 50 dials, right? By that time, you're getting profitable because you're sitting with more people. Now you get to get better leads, and it takes, right, a Bryan Howell, Jeff Miller, right? Hey, every 5 dials I book an appointment, every 10 dials I book an appointment, right? So just understand your numbers, guys, and it's going to bring you sanity, right? And then on the speed, right, it's minimum, guys, right? And I love to be super honest with my organization, just because I know what I went through to have to make this work. I know what I went through because I was not an insurance agent or anything to do with insurance or sales or on the phone when I first started with Symmetry. It took me 1,000 dials to get my 10, 12 appointments. Just what it took, right? It doesn't take that now, but it did take that the first couple months for me when I started, right? The numbers and speed is so important, right? So if we're dialing from 9 to 12, even if you're doing it by hand on your cell phone, there is no reason why you can't get to 100 dials in 3 hours, right? That's the speed y'all need to go. So we teach, right? It's 9 to 12 in the morning. You should be able to get 100 dials in those 3 hours, right? If you have less, it's because you're booking appointments. If you have less and you don't have appointments, you're doing something wrong. You have to be able to dial 33 dials an hour, right, to get to 100 in a 3-hour period. There's no reason why you can't get that. So you have to hold yourself accountable. It's super important, right? If you dial from 9 to 12 and you have 86 dials, you know, respectfully, you need to get it together, right? There's nothing I can do, or there's nothing any one of us leaders can do to make you do this faster, right? Because this is the work, right? Like this little puppy right here can make $1,000 an hour, right? By going like this, okay? I cannot make you do this faster. That is completely up on y'all, right? Like y'all have the responsibility to yourself and your own business to get to that speed, right? And here's the cool part. If you can do that 100 dials from 9 to 12, and then the 100 dials from 4 to 7 in the afternoon, you have 200 dials a day, 5 days a week, you're at 1,000 dials. You will have 10 appointments set. You just got to hold yourself accountable to those numbers, right? Like that's the real magic, right? And having that speed. Now, if you're on the power dialer, right? If I'm dialing 50-cent leads on the power dial, I can get upwards of 70 dials an hour, right? So that number increases. I can get, right? DJ Robinson can get to 1,500 dials in a week if he has to. Right? Just realize we have tools in place. If you think you can't go like this fast enough, right? You can go like this. Makes it easier. Grafe, does that answer your question? Or can I dig more into that for you? Do you hear me, Grafe? Hello, hello. Anyone else have questions on that? Numbers, stats, how to calculate? Do y'all need to, do we need to teach y'all how to get your numbers and dials so that you can?
There are some in the chat, Joe. There's Brooke 337, 30, and 5. There's Brendan with 360.
Yeah, that's all their numbers,
52,
so they can do the math, right? However dials you got, booked appointments divided, that's how many dials you need to make for every appointment you set. Do y'all need to explain? Do y'all need help explaining on how to get those numbers? Right, just the number of dials divided by number of appointments. Whatever that number is, that's how many dials you hit, send, right? And that's the beauty part, it's send. It has nothing to do with how many people answer the phone or don't answer the phone, right? It's how many times you hit send, right? Like Joshua on yours, answer or no answer, every time you hit send 100 times, you have an appointment. Right. And that way, and dude, I love it. Like that was my number. Trust me, it was like 130 dials and I'd book an appointment. It has decreased so much, right? I can book an appointment every 5 or 10 dials. right? That's coming. No, it's coming for all of y'all.
Yeah.
Thank you for these
Joe,
breakouts, Joe.
Joe, I was just wondering, do you think though that has anybody really tried to study for unseasoned agents? You know, my guess is really the numbers might be twice as high. You know, to what degree are those numbers skewed by, you know, experienced agents calling V leads?
So absolutely they're skewed by experience, right? But I'm giving y'all the numbers of an unexperienced, unsales person, never been on the phone, right? That was me. Never done this before in my life. Never, I had never called someone for a sale, right? Or for a response of anything. Never did any tell them. All I did for 20 years, right, since I was 15, was work in a restaurant. I bust tables and flip steaks and serve beers. I had never done this before in my life. And this is why I love this for every single one of y'all. If I can go out my first full year and make $240,000 just by simply picking up the phone more than anyone else, man, go get it, guys. Because that's all it takes, man. I love that for all of y'all. It literally just takes be bad long enough to be good. Because that's what I was willing to do, right? Like I had to replace my income. It was not an excuse. Anyone else? I know we went long, so I like to keep these at an hour, but a lot of great questions and info I wanted to help y'all with booking appointments. Does everyone feel comfortable that they can get off this call and go book an appointment and know their numbers, right? Love it. Thank you, Brooke. Cool. Anyone have any questions before I cut it off?
Thank you for this, by the way. The dial sessions and all the work that is not asked of you, going out and helping us, especially I know I've definitely gotten a lot from the individual sort of format here. And thank you very much for taking the time, which, as you said, your finger's worth $1,000 an hour. So thank you for sacrificing that for us.
I love it, man. Y'all just go out and work, right? Like Bryan Howell hits it all the time. Like what I pray for all of y'all guys, if you get off this Zoom session and go do 200 dials, right? Do your 200 dials today and send it to your upline, right? Every 5 contacts, get a hold of your upline so we can help you book appointments, right? Like there was 37 people earlier. I wish I got 37 phone calls today, right? Every 5 contacts. Like that would be a blessing for me because I know we'd be helping you book appointments, right? High challenge, high support. Which one of y'all is going to get off of here? Dial 200 dials every 5 contacts, get with your upline. So love y'all guys. See y'all next time.